Spotify Showcase is a new marketing tool provided directly by Spotify, directly through Spotify for artists. The way it works is that your song appears on the homepage of the Spotify mobile app with a little headline, and people can click and play your song, click to go to the song, or click to save the song to their library. And in this video, I'm going to show you $300 worth of test campaigns. I did basically 3 $100 campaigns with different parameters, so we can go through the results together and figure out if this is worth it at all. And I also have have access to other different campaigns from other artists, so I'll give you a peek into those as well, so we can decide if it's worth it. All right, so diving right in, here are my tests. So I ran 3 of these things, and I guess I have to zoom out here. I ran one of my song Animal in Brazil for $100. I ran one of my album, Double Thing, so you can do both singles, albums, and actually EPs as well. In the United States for $100, and then I did one of my single Black Hole in the United States. So 2 different United States ones. One's an album, one's a single. 2 different genres of music, and then a third also kind of different genre of music, but in Brazil, which is a much cheaper country to advertise to. So let's start with Black Hole, just because that's the one on the bottom. I spent $100 and I got 251 clicks. Now, that doesn't mean that all of those turned into listeners or streams or whatever. There is this audience development tab that we'll take a look at in a moment, but first I want to show you the converted listeners. So basically in the United States, I paid $100 and I get 137 listeners. If I were to pull out a little calculator here, so it's 100 divided by 137, that gives us, if I can move this, 73 cents per converted listener. Each one of those listeners listened to 2 streams or generated 2 streams. They had an intent rate, which means they either added the song to their library or playlist, of about 19%. And this is the numbers that I got from that. This playlist adds these saves. If we scroll down a tad, we can see people who listen to other releases, how active they were, playlist adds and saves for those other releases that weren't part of this showcase campaign. Now, up at the top, we have the audience development. So we have amplified listeners, which is 10 listeners in your active audience intentionally streamed your promoted release for the first time after seeing your campaign. Reactivated, this is people who were basically like previously active. 5 listeners rejoined your active audience after streaming your promoted release. And then new active listeners, 122 people joined your active audience for the first time by intentionally streaming your promoted release. So basically it's like, how well are you converting? These people were never active, or sorry, they've listened to me, but this is the first time they've intentionally streamed my music. People have been reactivated, and these people joined my active audience for the first time, or whatever. Either way, this is like more of an engagement stat. It's cool, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing on, when I show you these other 2, what is the cost? What is the total spend compared to the cost per listener? And what was the engagement? Because that's really what we're trying to measure here. But this data is important too. So if we flip back to the showcase view, let's look at how it performed for an album. Again, this is the United States. It's also $100. We had 289 clicks. If we go down to listeners, 173. So in this case, we're going to do 100 divided by 173. That's 183. And we get 58. So we paid 58 cents per United States listener. That's already better than the other one. And this, I'm actually not sure what to make of it, because all they're seeing is really the artwork. They don't hear the song. So this either means that the first song did a better job of getting them to listen to 30 seconds, so therefore more people became listeners, or maybe the artwork was just more enticing. Very possible. Or maybe the targeting was just, it happened to hit the right people when I ran it. Who knows, right? We don't really know. We'd have to run more campaigns to figure that out. But this one did 50-something cents per listener, which is, for the United States, is actually fairly reasonable, because these aren't retargeting people. These are mostly new people. Mostly new. Not all new, but mostly new. Now, the biggest impact of doing an album, though, was that we actually got 5.5 streams per listener. The intent rate was lower, but we got way more streams per person. And I think the reason why the intent rate was lower is because it's an album. You generally aren't going to add an whole album to a playlist. And maybe people were saving the album, but they weren't saving the tracks on the album. So that's one thing to consider. Now, this is a lot of saves, 249 saves for 173 listeners. So there's more saves than listeners, but keep in mind, there's album saves and track saves, which are kind of different. So, way less people, about 10% of people maybe were saving something, but each time they saved it, maybe they saved the 19-song album. So way less people generated way more saves. This is like the percentage of people who did an intention thing, but the volume of saves was actually pretty damn high. because they were saving 19 songs if they saved the whole album. Now, another interesting fact about this is that the more people listened to my other releases from this, and the active streams was actually kind of ludicrous, like 27 streams per person. So this, like, the engagement was super high, at least on like a stream per listener perspective, which to me initially kind of implies that albums and EPs are probably much better inside of Showcase. And here are the stats if you want to check these out. I'm not going to go through them again, but just for your reference if you're taking notes along the way. So let's go take a look at the Brazil one, because the Brazil country is way cheaper for Showcase. When you book a Showcase campaign, you can choose a country. And when we're done looking at this one, I'll show you what the process is like for booking a Showcase campaign too. If we go here to Brazil, again, same stats, we spent $100. It does say that stats may continue updating until December 18th, but I'm assuming that most of the stats have happened because this campaign's been done since the 25th of November and it's early December. So it's been plenty of time. Now we get 589 clicks. From those 589, about 331 converted. And so if we do the math on that, I mean, I can probably do it mental math, but 331, it's 30 cents per listener inside of Brazil. Apparently Logic Pro quit unexpectedly. What a surprise, Logic Pro. But yeah, 331, so very, very cheap, 30 cents per listener, which, like, compare that with Facebook ads, we're actually getting to a comparable level here. The thing to consider, though, is that the intent rate from ads is still higher, and you can actually, in many cases, get a cost per conversion better than that. Like, not always. You will have campaigns that do worse, but you can get... this is starting to get in the realm of that. Like, new people, you can run directly through Spotify for the cheap, and it's in the realm of like where Facebook ads is, which is cool, even if the intent rate's not quite there and the stream per listener is a little bit lower than running ads. And if you want to see how I run ads, I have a pretty detailed video here you can check out. I have a course in ad agency down below if you either want to learn how to do it yourself or you want to hire my agency to do it for you. But this is the stats for this. Now let's look at the engagement, how it compares. Intent rate was also about 10%. This is a single. Stream per listener, similar. And the interesting thing, though, is the more people of these on this single became active listeners of my other catalog. I don't know if that's because maybe I have more active people in Brazil than the United States. My number one country is United States, but I wonder if more of those are algorithmic. And in Brazil, I have more active, meaning that there was statistically more likely to be people who are already active. So this just kind of reinvigorated them to go listen to my catalog. And that's why these numbers are higher. Although the saves and playlist ads were dramatically lower for those people, even though the intent rate as a whole was actually on par with what we've been seeing thus far. So let's take a look at how you schedule a Showcase campaign, and then I'll show you another artist showcase just so you get a completely different perspective from someone who's not Andrew Southworth's music. Let's do schedule Showcase. And we just choose a record, any record, old, new, doesn't matter. It can also be an album or whatever. So if I choose Magnified, for example, I'm going to go click Next. And then that's the team. I'm going to click Next. Target country. They have all these countries, which is awesome. It's way more than Marquee and way more than, I think, also Discovery Mode, although maybe I'm wrong about that. From what I've seen, Brazil, I think, is the cheapest. It's 15 cents per click. It might be discounted for December, so keep that in mind. Spotify is running a Marquee sale. I think it might also apply to Showcase. If we go to the United States, this is normally 40, so this will tell me if it's discounted. Yeah, it must be 10% off right now. So I guess, yeah, if you're watching this in December of 2023, go run a Showcase campaign if you have access to it. I think you need 5,000 streams per month to get Showcase, but you might not get it immediately if you don't have it yet. So 36 cents. There are other cheaper countries, like, for example, Chile generally will be cheap, so will Mexico. This is 24 cents, so way cheaper than the US. And what did I say? Mexico's in here. This is 24. So yeah, Brazil seems to be the cheapest. I won't look at all these ones. I think the most expensive I've seen is the United Kingdom, which is usually 44 cents. Here it's 40 because it's 10% off. So whatever country you choose it. You choose a start date. It has to be at least 3 days into the future. You can see over on the right, this is what your ad will actually look like on the homepage of the Spotify mobile app. And then you can choose a headline. So if you're promoting a Christmas record, you're going to go and choose probably seasonal vibes. Release anniversary, getting buzz, recently released, new music, on tour, release music soon, and you might like. So consider what makes the most sense for your particular record that you're promoting. And then we get to the targeting section. So if you just leave this default, It's 14 million people just in this one country. It's targeting mostly new people, but it will also retarget when it makes sense. So it's like algorithmically figuring out who's going to like your music based on who's listening to your music. That's why you have to have a certain volume of streams for them to let you use the tool, because otherwise they can't algorithmically figure that out. But you can choose to only use this for retargeting. If you choose customize your audience here, you can filter out a previously active audience, which I probably don't have enough to run because I only have 4,500 people in there. Or I can choose active audience, and that's going to give me 720 people. But you could also filter out and just look at like light listeners, or just look at moderate listeners, or just look at super listeners, or target only active and previously active combined, or just leave it blank. Chances are, if you're a smaller artist, you're probably going to be leaving this blank and just target cold. But as you grow, you might be able to access the retargeting features. The minimum budget is $100. The maximum is, I have no idea, probably whatever you want it to be. Campaigns run for, I think, 10 days, but they might spend your budget sooner, and you can also pause it whenever you want. All right, so here I want to show you a $500 United States showcase campaign for a Christmas album. So we got 2,300 clicks. We can go down, we got 1,500 listeners about, so 500 divided by 1,500. It was about 33 cents per person. This artist does have a big United States presence, and you can see that a lot of these listeners, or sorry, not that one. A lot of these listeners are actually people that are reactivated. Like, not a ton. Most of it, 2/3 of it, is still new people that haven't streamed them in 2 years. But they do have a lot of brand presence in the US outside of that. So it makes sense that they might have done better because they're more recognizable. Like, they have a big following on YouTube and social media and stuff like that. So they had a much cheaper rate. The engagement rate was about on par, like 15% here. I think one of mine was like around 10 and another one was 20. So 15% is reasonable. Active streams per listener is really good. This is also an album, although let me double check real quick that I'm actually telling the truth here. Yeah, this is an album. So this album has like 10 songs or something. So the streams per listener is much higher. And the engagement was great across the board. Across the numbers, all these are on par with what we've seen or better, I think. And they have a very warm audience, so it kind of makes sense. So overall, Showcase seems like a pretty cool tool. I don't think it's going to replace anything per se, but I think using Facebook ads and using Showcase and using Marquee and using Discovery Mode, they give you a bunch of different traffic sources. So you have your ads and your Showcase bringing in new people from two completely different platforms, one directly from Spotify and one from your ads. And then your Marquee is reactivating your existing audience that already checks you out to make sure they check out your new record. And then Discovery Mode is maybe something that you use on your most algorithmically best performing back catalog songs to grow your audience for free, but at that cost of the commission they take for Discovery Mode. So each of them kind of fill their own unique purpose, and it's kind of cool to see this little weird empire of ads tools that Spotify's built up. Of course, they're in this to make money, but I do see the actual incentive for each of these tools and kind of how they work in tandem. Like, one doesn't necessarily replace the other. You could conceivably run Showcase, Marquee, and Discovery Mode and still also run your ad campaigns and your playlisting campaigns and your blogs and your social media. Each thing you do kind of has its own place in the cinematic universe of your music marketing. So if you want to learn how you can run Facebook ads, because I think that's still a vital part of marketing for most people, or if you don't have Showcase yet and you want to get it, check out this video right here where I go through the entire process from start to finish. Also, I do have a course called Spotify Growth Machine you can check out here, or if you don't want to deal with it yourself, I have an ad agency called Forbid Media you can check out in the description as well. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.